Hello, my name is Myles. Today I will be discussing colonisation and the effect it can have on groups and their future generations. The specific colonisation event I will be covering today is the colonisation of Australia. I will be doing this from the Indigenous point of view. This is because Indigenous Australians to this day are still very affected by the shocking way the British acted and how they went about claiming the land Indigenous called home for countless years. Colonisation is seen as the action or process of settling among and establishing control over the Indigenous people of an area. In most cases, colonisation is conceived as invasion to the Indigenous habitants. This is due to the colonists' minimal regard for the Indigenous claim to the land and their spiritual and emotional attachments. The colonisation of Australia commenced 24th of January 1788 with the arrival of the first fleet. The fleet consisted of 11 ships occupied by more than 1,400 men, women and children. Although most were British, there were also African, American and French convicts. As stated prior, the First Fleet and later colonisation of Australia was and still is seen to many as an invasion. This is due to the irrefutable evidence of horrible treatment of Indigenous peoples and their human rights. For my art-based example related to indigeneity, I have chosen to use a music video. This music video is called Treaty and made by Yufu Yindi. They're an Indigenous band that also consists of some Balanda, otherwise known as non-Indigenous members. The Yufu Yindi song is based around a statement made in 1988 by former Prime Minister Bob Hawke, when he promised a treaty would be concluded with the Indigenous Australians by 1990. I am going to share two snippets of a music video that reflects on the effects of colonisation had on Australians.
This land was never given up. This land was never bought and sold. The planting of the Union Jack never changed our law at all. Now two rivers run their course, separated for so long. I'm dreaming of a brighter day when the waters will be one. Come on.
This snippet of a music video directly relates back to the topic of colonisation. The lyrics "This land was never given up" is referencing how the British colonists were taking land away from the Indigenous peoples. This is further backed up with the line and lyrics, "This land was never bought and sold," highlighting the fact that this Indigenous land was being stolen away from the rightful owners, which were the Indigenous peoples. Moving forward a couple lines to the lyrics, "Now two rivers run their course. Separated for so long, I'm dreaming of a brighter day when the rivers will be one." In these lyrics, the two rivers are detailing a struggle between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, and how they have been apart and not getting along with one another. The last two lines of the lyric were about dreaming of a brighter day, where both Indigenous Australians and non-Indigenous Australians can get along. This next snippet of its video is still touching on the topic of colonisation of Australia, but is more a jab at former Prime Minister Bob Hawke's promise of a treaty. The line, "I heard it on the radio and saw it on the television," is a direct nod to how Bob Hawke's promise of a treaty was broadcasted and shared with Australians. But promises can be broken, just like writing in the sand. We can quite obviously see in these lyrics that Yufu Yindi band aren't too hopeful that the promises of a signed treaty will ever be delivered. I hope today you can see how the colonisation of Australia affected not only the generation of Indigenous Australians around at the time of the First Fleet, but the generations up to and no doubt after this date. Thank you for listening.